and the Prodigy College Football Podcast. I am the preacher here with Jericho the Prodigy, and we look at the national college football scene through a particular lens, that of long suffering, 5-win, 3-loss University of Michigan football fans. And we are here to look back on week 9 and to make our predictions for what's coming in week 10 of the college football season. Jericho, how do you feel? We're at week 10 already. The season, has it gone fast or has it felt long?
It's gone pretty fast, even though for Michigan and Michigan fans, it hasn't been exactly what we were hoping for, especially coming off a championship year. But yeah, this has flown by. It's crazy to think it's week 10 already.
Yeah. So Michigan and the battle for the Paul Bunyan Trophy comes out on top, 24-17, in a game that I really thought was, if not evenly matched, perhaps even tilted a little more toward Michigan State on a down-to-down basis. Michigan State, especially on third down, had an excellent conversion rate. They played hard. Aiden Childs in the run game was particularly effective. Michigan defensively made plays when they absolutely needed, but not when they didn't. I mean, they gave up long drives, and it was a really good game, one we thought Michigan State might win. Michigan settles where they started, on a 2-quarterback system with Davis Warren and Alex Orji, and plenty of holes exposed.
Yeah, Michigan State, they had a few money plays. You know, they kept on running that shotgun sweep play that on 3rd down and 9 was always getting them chunk plays, and they almost broke one for a touchdown. It's really annoying to see that. But yeah, you talked about it.
Nate Carter was balling out.
It did look like Michigan State was probably the better team, but then that just shows you the importance of penalties and turnovers. Michigan had neither of each, which was huge in, not giving Michigan State second chances, even when they were converting 3rd downs, and not giving them short fields, which they would have easily converted on. I love this. Is probably Kirk Campbell's best game as offense coordinator for Michigan. A lot of trick plays, a lot of plays that you expect to see, saved until Ohio State. But this is an in-state big rivalry game, and you need a few chunk plays. So you'll bring in Alex Orji and you'll run a few flea flickers, and it'll work. And that one drive where we had about 4 or 5 plays where we marched right down the field and scored a touchdown, that was probably the best drive that the Michigan offense has put together this year. And it did look like Davis Warren was having a really good game. He wasn't staring down Colston Loveland. He was fitting balls into not huge windows and making tough throws. And I did like the ratio almost of how often Alex Orji came in to be a change of pace. I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, some good, some bad. On the downside, Michigan's running game was not effective. Michigan State brought a lot of resources from the secondary to stop Kalal Mullings. Dom Netter, just a few nice plays, and maybe his best play was not a rush or a reception, but a pass. Donovan Edwards hits Colston Loveland streaking down the right sideline. A play very similar to the Ohio State game last year. Yep. I think we're seeing continued woes coming from Tommy Doman. Will Johnson out again. His turf toe issues make him very questionable for this weekend's game against Oregon. Michigan, again, another injury in the offensive line as well, just as we get used to Gentry being in the starting lineup. He goes out. There's just a lot of things that have taken a toll on Michigan in this season. So it's good to come out of that game with a win, because Michigan's looking down the stretch at probably a 1-3, 1-4 finish. They're not going to beat Oregon. They're not going to beat Ohio State. They're probably not going to beat Indiana, and then who knows in the bowl game.
Indiana's quarterback is coming back this week, and so they play Michigan State.
Curtis Rourke.
Spittoon, so Michigan State could have a long day there. But yeah, you talked about the injuries. It does seem, and I mean, this.
And everybody has.
Yeah, right. This happens with every team, but it's just a hard combination of guys who you need to play in big time moments, and guys where if your offensive line, you're trying to build chemistry as starter, going out is really hard, especially with a lot of young guys, and obviously not having Will Johnson on the field is going to hurt. And if he doesn't play, that'll be really difficult against the speed receivers
Yeah.
of the Oregon Ducks.
Absolutely. And then, I mean, it's Will Johnson, not only in the vacuum, but Will Johnson, of course, with Rod Moore, too, out. So there's a lot of resources there in the secondary that Michigan hoped to have in terms of play diagnosis and things like that that have not been available. And Wink Martindale just isn't that good as a college
He's
defensive
not.
coordinator, but he's locked in 3 years, $9 million. Hard to see him going anywhere. Hope that he figures it out.
Yeah.
All right, so that's our recap. Anything else nationally that caught your eye last week? And how did our
We both
predictions
went
turn out?
1-4.
That's
so-
great. That's just lovely. No trash cans on the head for that, but
Yeah,
we're really close.
We have been brushing that trash can line a lot this year.
Are we back below
you're
50%?
I am. You're not. You're 2 games ahead of me. So yeah, we're kind of back around 500 after a pretty good start. In terms of picking Michigan scores, you're like 10, 11 points ahead of me through 9 weeks. So that is also pretty tight. Yeah, let's pick some games.
All right.
We got 4-ish games this week to pick. Not a super good week of football, but nonetheless, it's still college football, and there will be some headliners. One major headliner is arguably the game of the year. Maybe when Ohio State played Oregon, that was it. But now Ohio State heads to Happy Valley for a Fox Big New game and a date with the Nittany Lions.
We're going to start there, not with the Michigan.
Sure, let's start there.
All right, let's do it.
The Buckeyes are favored by 3 as a road favorite. Gus Johnson, we heard Ty Hildebrand talk about we're going to have. He set the over-under at 4.5 big Zamboni calls for Penn State coach. There's going to be a lot of vibes on the field. This is a huge game for both Ryan Day and James Franklin. They both need this game. Ryan Day not done too well against top 5 teams, and James Franklin not done too well against Ohio State and Michigan. So both these coaches really looking for a huge breakthrough here. And there's obviously huge implications for the Big Ten championship game. Not as big of implications for the college football playoff, but nonetheless, this is a very important game on multiple levels. You start first. What is your thoughts?
Well, give them the line. We got 3.5, 4.
3. Buckeyes minus the field goal.
You know, if this game was a whiteout game at night, those have been the ones that Penn State has beaten Ohio State in. A noon game, no, I'm taking Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
I still not convinced that Ohio State isn't the best team in the country. That Oregon loss is aging well, only after a couple of weeks, but Oregon looks excellent, and to come within really a botched clock management issue from a game-winning field goal at night at Autzen, pretty impressive. I'm taking the Buckeyes to win this game by 10 points.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that last week some controversy at quarterback is never a good thing going into a big game, because that either means that your backup is better than your starter, which probably doesn't mean your starter is too good, or that either quarterback is too good. Or if you're starting your starter, that also just means that he's probably not that good of a starter, and you want a guy that you're confident going into a big game like this. Give me the Buckeyes to win, and James Franklin to continue.
I'm not changing my pick, but I just want to ask you if your read on the Ohio State-Nebraska game is in any way feeding into your predictions here.
No.
Is it a classic letdown look ahead, kind of the messy middle of top 5 matchup sandwich?
It could be a look ahead game, but every great team, they could lose one, but every great team has at least one close game. I mean, Michigan had that last year. You look at the Georgia teams from 21-22, they've had close games. Every team has that one game where it gets a little too close for comfort. I think that could be Ohio State's game this year. They also lost one against Oregon, but I think all teams go through that, especially the best ones. They all have that dodo game.
Michigan nearly lost to Maryland last year,
and
who was not that great. So,
all right, we agree. Moving on, we will. You want to pick the Michigan game?
No, but I think we have to.
Yeah. Oregon is favored by 14.5, which is a lot of points going into the big house. That's not something you look at and are proud of as a Michigan fan.
Preseason, you know what the line was?
No idea.
2.5.
Yeah. What you will be proud of, though, is, or what you would be proud of, is if Michigan was able to cover that, because you said earlier you probably consider that a win.
Covers a win at this point, baby.
In Michigan books. I'll pick first. I think this is going to be Oregon far and away. I think that they have a lot of the same like scheming and player personnel as Texas did. Maybe not quite as dominant defensively, but still very good. And obviously the receivers are nearly the same. Quarterback situation, nearly the same.
I think there's an upgrade from
the offensive line is just as good. I mean, this could be a Texas game, but instead of the score being only a 19-point difference, Oregon doesn't care about burning clock like Sark did. And I think this is not going to be pretty. Another blowout. For Michigan, give me the Ducks to cover 14.5.
Your score prediction?
Like, I don't know, 45 to 18 maybe, 45-17. It's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, I'm very close. I have 45-14 Oregon. I think they're just going to go up and down the field, especially if Will Johnson's out. Sark did show how you can just play football around those Michigan defensive tackles. Mm-hmm. You just you wear them out by run and stretch. You run to the outside. You run to the perimeter when they get winded. Bring in the backups, and then you just go right at those number 2, number 3 DTs, right up the gut. And Dan Lanning is, he's making a name as one of the top 10 coaches, and climbing in college football. Yeah. And the future is very, very bright for Lanning in Oregon. Still wish in so many ways Lanning had taken the Alabama job. Who knows what other things would have come out of that. Yeah. Kalen DeBoer doesn't take it, and therefore Jed Fish doesn't. So, there's a lot of things because of Dan Lanning's decision there. So I'm going with Oregon big. And I won't be I'm still not going to be mad about it.
Yeah, I was really shocked good after the Texas game because I hadn't really felt what it was like to lose for so long. But yeah, I think the
Natty Trophy is still right there.
Right there, yeah. We can probably live off of that for the rest of this year, and then next year is time to lock in again. We move on to the world's largest cocktail party. Do they still call it that? It's Florida, Georgia. It's down south.
We're going to call it that.
Similar line to the Michigan game. It is Georgia minus 14.5. This is a mid-afternoon game. Not a lot more you can say about this game. It's a rivalry game. I'll pick first. I don't care. I think Georgia's going to win this game. The way that this rivalry has gone in previous years when there's been this matchup and talent disparity is heavily favored Georgia's way. I think this is going to be another blowout. It'd be fun if this is a close game because if this is a close game, it could be really wild. I don't think it's going to be that. I think Kirby Smart.
What is the number?
14.5 again. So same as Oregon is favored over Michigan. This is a neutral site, so it's played in Jacksonville. Give me the Dogs.
I take the Gators in this one. It seems like in this game, there have been some close calls back in the day when Florida was the dominant team. Georgia would play up to this game. Billy Napier again back to the wall. I'm going to take Florida to stay inside that number. Nice. Dogs to win, Gators to cover.
All right. The last Division I football game, it's the battle for the Heartland Trophy, night game at Kinnick, Wisconsin at Iowa. Both these teams doing well, even though the Big Ten West doesn't exist, something that we had questions for the team. Both teams going into the season is how well they would be able to fare, playing Oregon and Ohio State and Michigan on a more regular basis. The Hawkeyes are favored by 3. What do you got?
It's a great question. I'm going to go with the Hawkeyes at home to cover that 3. They looked really bad against Michigan State, and Wisconsin looked pretty good for a while with Penn State. But Kinnick at night, probably going to be a blackout, something like that. I don't know. I'm going to go with Caleb Johnson in the Iowa running attack to win probably a fairly low-scoring game, something like 21-17 Hawks.
Yeah, I think it just makes sense to pick Iowa here. Wisconsin starting quarterback Braden Locke has thrown a lot of interceptions, and that's not something you want to do against Iowa because they have been shown to get pick sixes and have short fields. And in a lower scoring game, points are more valuable. Give me the Hawkeyes to also cover that 3-point spread.
This is a boring podcast. We agree all the time.
You want to talk about Northwestern Morningside this week in Sioux City?
Yeah. What do we know about Morningside?
So Morningside, first game of the year, lost a barn burner to Benedictine, Kansas. I think 48-45 in overtime. Since then, they have been very dominant. Last week, they beat Dort and kind of owned, the field in Sioux Center. And they do look like the top team in the G-Pack now. It did look like that was Dort until Morningside took that back from them. Northwestern, on the other hand, did not. I mean, it was a pretty boring game against Dakota Wesleyan, 34-7. But they have not looked as dominant as they have in the previous years. I set the imaginary line to this game at 7.5. That still might be a little too low.
Sounds like you're taking the Stangs then.
Yeah, I think that, it's not going to be a higher scoring game like it has been, like in 2020 or, 2022 or whatever. I think Morningside is just the better team this year, and they want revenge for last year. I think they're going to be the G-Pack champions.
I'm going with the Raiders. I think that these games are ones in which Matt McCarty thrives. I think it's a one-score game. In the end, that's inside of 7 points. I don't think Michigan's intimidated of the first down.
Northwestern.
Boom.
Yeah.
Burn. Yeah. I don't think either team is intimidated by the broom anymore. So I'm going to envision a lot of running from Logan Meyer, Connor McQuillan in this game, trying to just extend the game. I'm going to take the Raiders to cover 7.5 imaginary points.
Score prediction?
I don't know. What's the weather? I have no idea what the weather's doing out there.
I have no idea. We should probably look at that, but I have no clue what it's going to be.
I'll say Northwestern 114, Morningside 80. I don't know. What's the weather? That might change
my initial score prediction was probably like a Morningside 27-17 victory. Saturday in Orange City, it's supposed to be rainy. In Sioux City, it is also supposed to be rainy. High is 62. Rainy at night. So cloudy. Football, a good football weather game.
31-27. I don't know who wins.
That'd be fun.
All right. That'll do it for week number 10. We're coming down the stretch here. Be a great day of watching college football, though, all the way around.
Yeah, it's gonna get fun soon.
We got to do the leaves again, but they're not near as bad as last week. So,
yeah.
Next week we may be doing this remotely.
Right.
I will be out of the country, so we'll see if we can do a live recording, split screen on Zoom or something like that.
Somehow you can get some Wi-Fi out in Africa, down in Ethiopia. We will try to,
I think I'll have
Wi-Fi that, but we will see you next week, week 11.
Till then,
it's gonna get close to rivalry week. It's what we're all looking forward to.
Until then, I'm the preacher.
I'm the prodigy.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
All right.